Hey everybody, we are back. Everybody, welcome back to The Varied Life. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy. And today is a new day. Well, actually, it's not actually a new day. It's almost 6 o'clock at night here in Korea, and we're doing another video on some 3D printer stuff. We're doing an update on my very favorite printer, and that is going to be the Chaos Alert Eryone X400 Kickstarter Drama Unfolds. Yeah, it's not looking too good for the X400, the Thinker X400, the huge, supposedly this was supposed to be the most awesomest 400 cubed production capable 3D printer and Core XY, and there's a lot of problems that I saw with it, and considering that their past two printers before that were dismal at best. Matter of fact, on their website, they had two 3D printers. Now, I went over this, and what they ended up doing is actually taking away one of them. The one printer they took off of their website had 10 reviews, and it had like a 3.2 rating out of 10 reviews, and that was it. Then they kept the other printer on their website, and that had 0 reviews. And after doing some digging and stuff like that, found out that Eryone just didn't support those printers. Basically, they became bricks. People got rid of them, pissed off at the poor customer support. The things didn't work. It was just kind of like we made it, we sold it, and boom, it just disappeared like a fart in the wind. So I warned about that, and unfortunately, I don't know, the Kickstarter for the X400, they did a ton of videos. I did videos on how Eryone ended up buying views, comments, and likes on Facebook from Indonesia. And there's, like 50, 60,000 people had commented and, liked and oh, this is awesome, great, and then a lot of it was in Indonesian. And it's interesting because every single one of them, not one of those people, they're real people, they're real profiles and stuff like that. But unfortunately, a lot of them were probably bots. But the real ones, when you go on their page, they had nothing, zero, nada about 3D printing. There's people on there that was like, they barely looked like their houses had electricity, let alone a Core XY printer that looks good for production and to fill the niche of, it just ended up, it was really, really bad. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to review a little bit about what's going on with the Eryone and their Kickstarter. Because remember, they had a bunch of problems. They had one of their printers sent over to Aurora Tech Channel, and they brought out some information that was like, yeah, this is rough. This is really rough. And things that were problematic, and people were like, hey, if we're going to pay this much money, granted it's Kickstarter and you get it at a discount if it makes it to market. But there's so many things on there, like it didn't have a chamber heater. When you're talking about something that's maybe a 256 cube heater, that's not a bad deal. You don't need a chamber heater for that because you can use the ambient heat from your heat bed, from your build plate, and the heating element there, and it's no problem, okay? When you get into the bigger build areas, like the K2 Plus has an active chamber heater, and similar ones that are even smaller than that have active heated chambers. And those things, but this one didn't. And so enough people complained, it was like, hey, this is supposed to be production ready, between hobbyist and industrial, fitting that niche, and with a huge build area, 400 cubed. And so enough people complained that they said, oh, well, we're going to throw in a heater, but you have to buy it extra, and you have to add it in. It's not going to come already in it's an aftermarket heater. And it's like, wait a second, this is very interesting because they tried to appease the masses, and unfortunately, I spilled the tea on this in that if you have a 3D printer and it has a heater, it has to get certain type of certifications to be able to have the heater and make sure that all of the components in there can handle the heat and the wattage and so on and so forth. which is interesting because, some people were questioning the amount of power that thing is going to draw. Their big thing was, oh, you can stack one on top of the other. And then some people that are way smarter than me even pointed out, it says, well, if this is this and this is this, and the power consumption, and you're not going to be able to run both of these at the same time in a residential 20 amp circuit. Yeah. So there's that. But they bypassed getting the certification by selling a heater that you can get that's at an additional cost. So they tried to make it out like it was a whole big thing, like, oh, look how great we are. We listened to our audience, and we gave them a heater, but you got to pay extra, and you got to install it. So it's essentially a third-party heater that you need to install, and nobody knows whether that has been tested with that heater. Is it safe with that heater? Yeah, they don't have to do any certifications because it's an aftermarket heater. So a lot of other problems came up with this. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take a stroll down memory lane, and we're going to take a look at this. So here we are. This is, it's just crazy. Remember this, the Eryone Star 1 FDM printer, 99? That has been out for like 3 or 5 years. 0 reviews. They got rid of the other printer that had, like 10 reviews, and it was a 3.2 rating there. So that was kind of awkward. And then they had this resin printer for $1,800, which has 0 reviews, and nobody bought it, and it just ends up that's a fiasco in itself right there. And then we have the pre-sale of the Eryone X400, which is $2,500. So yeah, let's just, these are garbage. I mean, people have said that they had bought these before and their other printer, and they're just basically bricks. So let's look at the pre-sale of the X400 and think about it. It's on casters and it rolls around. We got some aluminum, and this thing is heavy, baby. And we're going to run into some problems with the heaviness because the heavier an item is, the more shipping that you're going to have to pay. And if it gets tipped over or knocked, guess what? Yeah, you're going to have some serious problems with this machine. It looks good, but if you go close up into this, you'll notice that these parts are 3D printed. So I don't know, if I'm paying $2,500 for a printer, I don't want the parts for the display and the rails and the extruder and the hot ends and other pieces to be 3D printed. You're not Prusa, okay? Let's continue on here. And, outside, it doesn't even have a filament dryer. And again, where's the heater going to go? All of that is acrylic, so there's really no insulation. Where is a vent hole? Haven't seen any. It's just, look at that. That's a 3D printed holder there. Yeah, and they threw their thing on there. So yeah, we're talking the highest quality. Yeah, I don't think so. It just doesn't look. It just doesn't look that industrial to me. All the electronics are there, and again, it doesn't look like a good machine. So we're going to go down here. We're going to take a look at this, and maybe we get this down to where we can read some stuff. And I went over this. This is a 400 by 400 by 400 build area, prints up to 500 millimeters per second, which is interesting because the K2 Plus goes to 600 and is a 350 cube build area. But what they ended up doing is they did this compare and contrast the X400 with consumer grade 3D printer. That's a Creality Ender 5 Max. This is a enclosed printer. The 5 Max, everybody knows what that is. They just blurred it out. But it's not consumer grade. It's consumer grade. This is production grade. But this isn't even an enclosed printer. So you're already starting off, you're comparing apples to oranges. Or I say apple to rock. So 400 pre-assembled, complete 3D printer. Okay, congratulations. The kit here, they said, at least 1 hour to assemble multiple parts with 2 people. That's absolutely untrue. And again, when you see all these problems, it was just very problematic. Fully enclosed for consistent temperature control. Open chamber. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. Why would you compare a consumer open chamber printer with an enclosed printer? Doesn't make sense. Print speeds, 500 millimeters per second. And actually, I'm wondering if the Ender 5 Max ended up having, if it ended up having 600 millimeters per second. Ender 5 Max. Let's take a look at this. And we'll see what the deal is. So there is the Ender 5 Max, $790, ultra fast printing at 700 millimeters per second. Oh, wow. So, here they're lying to you, and they're hoping that nobody will check up. No one will trust but verify any of the information. All metal frame, it talks about cost minimizing, linear rail, whatever. Material capability, they put all of this in here and they just say basic materials, PLA, PETG, TPU 95A. Well, yeah, because you're comparing an enclosed printer with an open chamber printer. And your printer, there were some problems that we saw with the X400 because it didn't have a chamber heater, and that is a huge volume that you need to heat up, and there was problems with that. Design service life 3 years, 1 year. Where are they getting this information from? There's people that have had printers that, have worked for almost a decade. And so I don't know. Stackability, yes. No additional racks are made. AI camera, yes. There's no camera on that one. Management. But again, consumer grade management software versus production. And it's like, Creality has the Creality print software, and you can have multiple printers. So I don't know what their thing is with that. It just kind of crazy. So yeah, 500 millimeters per second, 10,000 millimeters a second acceleration, 35 millimeters cubed a second flow rate. When we look at the Ender 5 Max, it ends up that the Ender 5 Max is pretty interesting. 64-bit, 700. Let's see, auto leveling, auto Z, beefy linear rails, 500 typical speed for quality, 700 maximum speed, 20K for acceleration. So again, what we see is the Eryone has been fast and loose, playing loosey-goosey with their little comparison here to make their printer look good. And when you do that, I just lose all respect for you as a company. So it goes down here, and then again, you got some 3D printed parts, yada, yada, yada. 25-point auto leveling. They're trying to make this out as a huge thing, but that's kind of like industry standard now. Built-in camera, real-time monitoring, whoop-de-doo, 7-inch touchscreen. Again, with the 3D printed display cover, it's not even, they didn't even take the time for a $2,500 printer that should be supposedly on the level of a production grade machine. You can't even, tool and die and, get a plastic mold of your display screen housing. Goes through all that, blah, blah, blah. Air filter. It does have a filter, but it doesn't have, for a production machine, the interesting thing is that it doesn't have an adapter for venting. And this is a production machine. So all of this was pointed out a long time ago. And it's just kind of crazy on what we end up seeing. So yeah, we continue on next level management software. Whatever. And yeah, you go down here and you take a look at this. It's just barn spare nozzle. You get some tools, pretty much standard. And what does it end up? Hardware extruder, blah, blah, blah. Gross weight is 74 kilograms. Holy crow, you're going to be paying some money for shipping. And now that we have the problems with the tariffs in China and all that stuff, now what's going into question is that apparently a lot of people and I kind of guessed this with the tariff thing, is that now you're going to have a bunch of cancellations. But we will ask that question to see. So, just a lot of different problems. In languages is Chinese and English. That's it. That's all you get. The Ender 5 Max, I think it has like 7 or 8 different languages. It's just, and it is, gross weight is 31 kilograms, 700 millimeters, all of that. Language, English, Spanish, German, French, Russian, Portuguese, Italian, Turkish, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and then the app and the whole 9 yards. So rated power is 1250. What is the rated power on this thing? That power consumption is 680, 200 to 300 watts operational. Really? So, again, is that going to be enough to be able to heat up to get all of those wonderful little, filaments that need heat in a heated chamber? And again, what we're talking about is a huge build area with this thing. And apparently there were some problems with the X400 because heat rises and stays at the top. And if you'll notice, it's just so many problems with this. So with that being said, I kind of forecasted and said, yeah, this X400 it looks good, but when you start digging and you start asking questions and you're getting squirrely answers from Eryone, it's just not a good thing. And I immediately saw the specs and I'm like, hey, that's a great build area. That could compete with the Prusa XL. That is something that I could, I could do that. But as I started digging and with the little electronics experience I have, I started seeing problems and I started asking questions. And then, the Facebook moderator for Eryone just went off on me and a number of other people. I was surprised. It went off on other people more than he did me. I was trying to be really, really polite, but people were asking just Barney basic questions. No hostility, no, wasn't trying to get a gotcha moment, but people that were asking, well, hey, what's the power consumption? What is this? And what about this and this and this? And the dude blew up. He started calling people children, that they were childish, that they were stupid. And I'm like, this went on for days and days. And it's like, then other people are saying, hey, whoa, hey, you're the admin for this Eryone X400 Facebook page, the official page of Eryone X400, and you're acting like a jerk. And the company still let this guy, I don't know what the deal was. Some massive drug deal went down where they allowed him to be the moderator. Probably because he wanted some clout and he would do it for free. So I don't know. There's some kind of dope deal with that. So anyway, it ends up bunch of questions went unanswered. People that have degrees in electronics were asking and getting answers, and they were saying, no, that's not how this works. It works like this, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, they weren't good answers. So anyway, I had put out my 2 cents and voiced my concerns over this. And yeah, it was just like, well, we're working on it, and blah. And yeah, it's just not. So I said this was going to be a Kickstarter cash grab. And I still believe that with all my heart. And when we take a look at their Kickstarter, I am even more convinced that this is a Kickstarter cash grab. So let's go and take a look at the Kickstarter. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, here it is, the Kickstarter. And there it is. And if we go down the campaign, if we take a look at the opening page there, it says all gone funding, it's over, we finished our thing and we're good to go. Had 305 backers. Can you see that right there? 305 backers that made $3.4 million. That's amazing because the number of commenters that they had on their Facebook ads, the views, the clicks, the likes, the engagement, tons, the majority of people were from Indonesia. That nothing against Indonesians, but they were paid people to comment and like, and oh, this is great, just what I was looking for. And then there was people that barely had electricity in their house that were commenting on this. You know, people that didn't even have running water on the inside of their house, that didn't have a bathroom on the inside of their house. So I'm kind of wondering why do you think this is going to be a great machine? And where are you going to put it, and how are you going to power it? Because obviously, the only lights I saw in your little hut was a couple of 20-watt bulbs. 50, 60, 70, 80,000 views, engagements and likes. 10, 15,000 likes on their Facebook advertising, and obviously those were paid people. So but it says they're all gone. And we go down here. There's 92 backers on the original one, so that's already basically a third. And then how many do they have here? 152 backers for the solo pack. Had 500 units only, but they only sold 152. They won. They had 500, but they only got 152. What was the other one? They had 100 units only, and only 92 people picked those ones up. They made a huge deal about that, about the 100. Oh, this is a special $12.99, and we're only going to have 100 of them, and as we see there, and only 92 people picked those up. I feel sorry for those 92 people. So it ended. So there was 8 left. And then down here, they had limited to, now it says 500 units here, but then down here it says limited to 100 units. So they already dropped it down to 100 to try to, hype this thing up, and it didn't end up working too well because only 152 ended up getting it out of limited quality, 98 left out of 250. So, we're seeing some strange numbers here. We got 500, then we got 100, and then we get down here, 98 left out of 250. Yeah, they were scrambling big time to try to put the hype on this thing and make this as big as they could to sell as many as they could. What do we get here? The Duo set. Get two. And let's see, they had 31 backers. 29 left out of 60. Then the 5-unit bundles. Oh God, one person. I feel sorry for that one person if this ends up being a joke, because that's basically $7,000. And when you throw in some shipping there and things like that, and the lack of customer support that they had on their 2 previous machines. Oh my gosh. And people couldn't find parts. They didn't even have parts for their old machines. What makes you think they're going to have parts for this machine? The track record is not there. It doesn't look good. I feel sorry for the guy, whoever that is. But we also, it seems kind of interesting. I think they also padded, and who knows who bought or backed this thing. Could it be that the company themselves back some of those items and to try to generate some publicity over this and say, look, all of these have already, you better hurry up and get it. I think that's what's happened there. Let's see what another one was. Oh, that's it. Funding period's over. April 11th. Yeah, it's the 21st. And it's not going to go well. So, and here's the problem. Here's the problem that we're going to take a look at next is we're going to look at the comments on this. And this is going to blow your mind. If you want to leave some comments, leave it in the comments section. They'll pop up and they'll come up on the screen and we can address some things. But I'm going to go run over this and show you why I think this is just going to be a dumpster fire. So in the comments, 282 comments. There's a bunch. Only backers can post comments, but it ends up when you'll be sending out surveys. But then as we go down here, what we start seeing, of course, it talks about the tariffs and all this stuff. Then What do we end up seeing? No comment from Eryone. 4 hours to contemplate. Yeah, there's a lot of those. This person canceled their pledge. They got some other things there. You can transship through another country like Vietnam. So people are trying to recommend and say, hey, if you don't go from China to the United States, but go from China to Vietnam and then to the United States, and you could save on some shipping. But then it ends up, oh, there's another one. This person canceled their pledge. And is there LiDAR in development? No. This person canceled their pledge. This person canceled their pledge. This person canceled their pledge. This one did. And their big thing is they sell filament. So they're pushing the filament here. This one canceled their pledge. And let's see. This person canceled their pledge. This one canceled their pledge. Talking about shipping costs, blah, blah, blah. Found that in their fact. And as the situation becomes more challenging, another one canceled their pledge. And then you show, another one canceled their pledge. And we go, this one canceled, and then this one, and this one, and this one, they canceled their pledges. This, and there's another one. This is getting ridiculous. So, redonkulous. There's another one canceled their pledge. Let me guess, 2 more people canceled their pledge. This one, and this one, and that one. Everybody, cancel your pledges. This is bad. And I'm not going to say that I told you so, but I kind of, the tariff war, I didn't know about that. But this one canceled their pledge. And, people talking about the system and saying, hey, this or that. And, we still end up with this one canceled their pledge. And this one and that one. And that one. Yeah, I mean, you go through it, bam, 3 in a row. 3 strikes and you're out. Yeah, there's another one. There's 2 more. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Yeah, there's 3 more in a row. There's another one there. And there's another one there. There's 2 more. Let me see if we got any more. There's 2 more there. Yeah, we're getting to the point of where this is bad. This is bad. So people canceling their pledges like it's going out of style. It is not good for Eryone. Canceled. And again, it was interesting because going through some of the comments that are gone and the pledges, people pledge, the comments that they had, and I wish I had screenshots because that was really interesting. It was late and I didn't think to do it. I wasn't awake. Wasn't of sound mind and body to do that. But the comments, and that's why I believe that they bought their own products to generate the hype, is the comments were awkward. They were weird. The grammar was off. It was like, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Just the vernacular and the grammar and the sentence structure, it was like, this doesn't make sense. And too many of those comments had similar problems with how they were written. And it was just struck you as just being like, yeah, that's just really, really odd. So we continue down, and there's more. Another one canceled. Another one canceled. They're canceled. There's more canceling here than another one there. Another one there. Can't the internal carbon filter be placed on the outside as possible advantage of max block? Canceled. There's so much canceling going on. It's amazing. There's another one. We could go on. There's another one. So you get the point. It's very, very canceling-ish. There's another 3. There's another one. Yeah, this looks like they pulled the rug out from under it, and then people saw what was going on. There's a bunch more. There's another one. There's a few more. There's another one. Boom, 4 in a row. There's some, boom, 3 more. Yeah, this is not looking good. They canceled their pledges, and I could continue on, but you kind of get the idea. We've already went through this enough. But yeah, it doesn't look good for Eryone and the X400. And then when the Aurora Tech Channel did the review and they highlighted a bunch of problems, and even when the chamber did not have the heater in it, and they were printing some esoteric filament, and the build plate, ping, folded up into a taco, and it's like, obviously the magnet that they used to keep said build plate on the build plate didn't do its job. It wasn't good enough, and thing just warped up, and it's like, ooh, I've never seen that failure before, ever. And it's just like, oh man, this is a Kickstarter grab. This is a cash grab, and they're pulling the rug, as you can see. And I hope these are real people that canceled their pledges, because those people, they almost drank the Kool-Aid. And, I'm going to drink a little bit of my Kool-Aid, but I'm not going to drink their Kool-Aid. So, yeah, absolutely crazy on what we see with the Eryone 400. And it ends up, it's like there was huge, massive push on their Facebook advertising and their purchase views, likes, clicks, and engagements. Videos, I went over some of their advertising and just showing that, thousands, 20, 30,000 views. And then on other Facebook advertisements, they had a few hundred, or maybe 200 or 300. So a huge disproportionate amount of reaction to those. And when everybody is from Indonesia, except for me and like 2 or 3 other guys, from the United States, I think there was a guy from Australia. Other than that, everybody was from Indonesia. Yeah, those are not generic. Those are not organic views, clicks, and engagements. Though Eryone clearly bought those views and bought those people to come and leave those comments. And, oh, looks, just the printer I was looking for. And you go to their profile page, and it's like, you have goats. Goats are great, but it doesn't even look like they have electricity. So it's like, I don't think you're really going to buy an X400 if you don't have electricity and you have goats wandering around your hut. I'm just saying. Possible. Maybe they got a generator with an awesome office in the back that is you can't see. Yeah, it was just ugly. So anyway, yeah, the big problems with with the Eryone 400. It is just not going well. Let's see if we can go over some other stuff. Boom. Campaign officially ended. Thanks to everyone. I hope all those people canceled. The official conclusion, we want to express our gratitude, blah, blah, blah. Payment process, of course, they want to get their money. Depositing a refund. Deposit will be refunded to your original payment, blah, blah, blah. And then not a lot of engagement. That doesn't look good. And high temperature, hot end development update. They, in response to a high temperature, hot end add-on, which is weird because you advertise that it could do all of the filaments that require additional heat and chamber and this and that, and high temperature filaments, carbon fiber, this, glass fiber, whatever. That wasn't even included. So, yeah, they're working on that. Let's see. Stretch goals announced. They didn't even make their stretch goals, and they said they'd give away a free PEI build plate. But I don't know, after seeing that build plate, ping, fold up like a taco on Aurora Tech Channel, yeah, I don't know if I would want that. We heard you. The active heater is now available. This was kind of funny. And this is where it says, we received numerous comments about adding an active heater, and we're thrilled to announce it's available as an add-on. Seriously, an add-on? Again, the reason for the add-on heater is so it's not included in the printer, so they don't have to get the additional certifications, which cost money. Again, this is a Kickstarter cash grab. At room temperature, blah, 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 active heater can get it up to 60 to 7 degrees Celsius. The active heater is priced at just $14 with a future retail price of $19. Oh, joy! Oh, it's a joke. It is a total joke. Thank you for being part of the journey. Yeah, we're taking the $3.4 million and to the oh, good Lord. It's just not good. It's just not good. I don't know. The Eryone, they're a filament company. They did a couple of printers in the past. And by the way, I also did a video where I looked at their old website and they used fake reviews on their webpage with stock photos of people that were like, they're not real people, in other words. And of course, there was that same weird grammar and vernacular and how they did, I've been waiting for this product, this specific product, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, what? No, it is all pre-planned. And when I showed that the dude, they had a picture of a dude, but then they had the name of a lady, which is a thing these days, I guess. But yeah, when you did the image search on the photos for the reviews, you found out that they're stock photos. So, stolen stock photos. Yeah, So when I did that, and I did that video, all of a sudden, next time I visited the Eryone webpage, it ends up those reviews were gone. One of their printers was gone, which is weird because I highlighted that. It was like 3.2 out of 5 stars. Only had 10 reviews, and they got rid of that printer from their website, and they left the printer that had 0 reviews. That doesn't make any sense at all. And considering that people were complaining about both of those printers and how Eryone they don't support those printers anymore. And if you don't support a very Barney Basic bed slinger, what makes you think they're going to support this? Are you telling me that they had a come to Jesus meeting? You telling me that they bent their knee, apologized and repented, and suddenly they're paying a ton of money and they're going to be the next big bamboo Creality, Prusa. They're going to be walking with the big boys. No. No. I would bet a paycheck. I just don't see it. And again, a lot of problems, a lot of problems. So it's getting pretty interesting with the Eryone. And after, boom, it's like a ghost. As soon as the campaign ended, you hear crickets. And it's like, wow, that's kind of crazy because usually what you'll end up seeing is you'll see influencers and people reviewing their products. They had like Aurora Tech Channel and then 1 or 2 or 3 other ones. And those people, they bought the sauce. This is great. This is going to be the next big thing. But they didn't look beyond or even look at the company and what they've done in the past and say, hey, could there be some possible problems? Because their track record is like, if you're running a race and you came in last in the last 3 events that you did, and now you're saying that you're going to be in first place, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So I was just very surprised at these people that did the reviews for the X400 and how, they printed stuff out. But, it wouldn't be the first time that a company put a product together specifically for influencers and reviewers to go onto YouTube and social media, and then they get special machines that are tuned in and everything, and then what does everyday people like you and me get? We get the shaft, we get bent over, and they throw a bunch of sand in there, and they're go, yeah, it's not going to go well. I apologize for that. But yeah, it ends up, I don't think it's going to go well for the X400. And I just feel sorry for the people that fact that it just estimated delivery is April 2025, and it's April 2025. It's the 21st of April here in Korea, and we're there's no word on the updates on when are these things shipping out, because usually when you look at a Kickstarter and it gets close to where they ended, they've got a real good idea, and they will give you, hey, the first block of backed items are going to be out the door. They'll have a shipping schedule in the whole 9 yards. But this is quiet. Crickets. Crickets is all we hear right now. They're just saying, hey, thanks for all the fish, and we're out of here. This would cause me, that I would be very, very nervous about this. And even then, if they do send out the 500 and some odd machines, what was it? 300? 500? 305 backers is all that did the Eryone X400. So, yeah, I think this is going to be very problematic. I think we're going to see, some people are going to have to do a lot of work. They're going to have to do a lot of tuning and stuff like that. And that son of a gun is a heavy. You're going to be paying out the wazoo for shipping, and we all know how shipping is in the United States. It's absolutely dismal, and the heavier a product is, the more problems you're probably going to have. The only good thing is that this thing is so heavy that it's got to be on a pallet, so that might be a redeeming factor. But the fact that they can't even support a tiny little bed slinger, the last two machines that they had that were tiny, and suddenly you're saying, oh, we're doing this production grade high speed 3D printer where we compare ours with an open chamber. But don't look into that. Don't. We're comparing apples to oranges, but we're hoping that you won't notice that. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, 305 backers, $3.4 million that went to Eryone, and I think this. It'll be interesting to see, but I think this is a Kickstarter cash grab. This is Eryone, which is primarily what is it? Let's go to the website and take a look, and we'll show you what they end up. Eryone, come on, here we go. 3D printer and parts, yeah, but mostly their big thing is filament and resin, and I don't know. Maybe they should just stick to doing that, because they've got, look at the reviews on this, on their filament. 23, 1,975, 80, 90, 148, 63, 421, 76. They've got a lot of good reviews on their filament, but then again, they lied about the reviews on the things they had on their website before. So I don't know if these are actually real reviews. I just don't know. It's very problematic when you lie about a product and you use fake reviews for other stuff on your website, and then you get caught, and then you take that away without saying you're sorry or giving any explanation whatsoever. It's just very problematic. The initial stats and specs of the X400 is what drew me to it, because I was looking for a large build print area printer. But as I dug into it, and like I said, with my little bit of electronics experience, I was like, 2 and 2 is not equaling 4 here. We're maybe getting 2.5, maybe 3. So, I was like, I'm not going to go for that. And for those of you who are wondering, I went with the K2 Plus. The Creality K2 Plus. I took the gamble on that, and part of the reason that I went with the Creality K2 Plus is because I saw all of the good reviews here in Asia. So I live in Korea. I retired in Korea, and I think there was one where there was a dead board on one of them, but the rest of them, everybody's like, oh, this is awesome, great machine, no problems, blah, 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 blah. And it's like Japan was kind of the same thing. But when you get to the United States, there's a ton of problems, or Australia or the UK. And isn't it interesting? And this is my theory. My conspiracy theory is that the poor handling during shipping by UPS, DHL people, and whoever handles these things, kicks them, tips them over. I mean, it ends up, it was like 100 pounds for the K2 Plus, the gross weight. And it's awkward, it's big. And mine came in pristine condition. The box looks like it just got off the assembly line. So, but the reason for that is because Koreans, when they deliver stuff, ratings matter here. And so a lot of people are contracted to do this. They're like subcontractors to deliver products. And if they do a good job, then they get their job. But if they get bad reviews, guess what? Somebody else will take their place. So they have a vested interest in delivering packages in pristine condition. So when I saw that, that's when I was like, I think I'm going to get the K2 Plus. And so far, I've got over 260 hours on it. I'm pretty happy. I've had to replace a nozzle, but that was probably my own fault because I didn't calibrate the Creality filament, and it should have ran at least 5 degrees hotter through the nozzle than the recommended settings. So that was on me, and it probably still go through, and I could probably clear that nozzle out. I've just been lazy and I don't have a butane torch, so I've got some few other ones. It's not a big deal. But I printed PLA and PETG, and I haven't had any problems. Once you dial this stuff in, recommended settings, it's okay. But you really got to do your own calibration, and once you do that, I haven't, keep my fingers crossed, because it's Creality. But I've really enjoyed the Creality K2 Plus. So, yeah. Other people haven't had a good experience with that. Other people, even Uncle Jesse, had problems with it. So but they eventually were able to fix that. But I think my theory is the majority of the problems, probably about 95% of the problems, comes from rough handling during shipping. And that causes problems with the machine and the equipment because it's a piece of electronics equipment. And when it weighs 100 pounds, and you mistreat that package and roll it off of trucks and docks and whatever, you only got one person delivering that bad boy in the United States with like UPS and whatever. And I worked at a UPS warehouse, so I saw how packages get treated. And there's some good delivery people, but there's a lot of bad ones too. And I was just like, holy crap. I think I'll just pick up my stuff at the warehouse next time. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Again, the Eryone X400, I think there's a lot of problems going to continue to come to light with this. And it's interesting how it's just basically been like a fart in the wind. We haven't seen, there's no continued hype. The crowdfunding Kickstarter is over and everything went dark. So that doesn't give you a warm fuzzy either. It doesn't give me a warm fuzzy. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Some interesting stuff on the world of 3D printing. And unfortunately, I feel sorry for the backers of the X400. I think a lot of them are going to get screwed, especially the one guy that bought the 4-pack or the 5-pack, whatever that was. I hope he can redeem because that's like $7,000. Control says, sounds like I'd be better off investing in a goat. You, sir, or ma'am, have won the internet. Yes, I totally agree. It would probably be, you'd probably get a better return on the goat. Goat's milk is good for you, and they can keep the weeds down in your yard, and you're good to go. So anyway, please like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. The people down below on the scrolling ticker that is here they come. There it is, right there. These are people that have bought me coffee. So if you want to do that, you can, but you don't have to. Just like and subscribe. That would appease the YouTube gods, and I would really appreciate that. If you want to send me an email, there's the email address. I answer every single email, even the crazy ones. And let's face it, we're all a little crazy in the hobby world, so that means we're family, right? We're all part of this big dysfunctional family. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave this because I got to go get some dinner because I'm starving. And it's like 20 to 7 at night. I'm really hungry. So we're going to let you all go. Leave some comments in the comment section down below and what you think about Eryone and the X400. Is it going to be good, bad, indifferent? I want to hear from you, and we will see you on the next video. Yeah, hopefully. I really want to see you on the next video, okay? All right, peace.